News and notes from around the National Hockey League. Blake Wheeler, 2 assists in his 1,000th game tonight as the Winnipeg Jets have a 6-3 lead on Toronto. Shesterkin won't be out nearly as long as it looked like he might be when he left the ice the other day, at least a week. And the Vancouver Canucks cleaning house tonight. It's been a really disappointing start to the season there. Reports of the coach in Travis Green being let go, and now Jim Benning gone as the general manager. What do you know?
Travis Green and his assistant, Nolan Baumgartner, they go back to their time with the Utica Comets in the AHL. Apparently they have been relieved of their duties. Scott Walker, Bruce Boudreau, and Scott Walker, they've been tied together for a while. They are in, and then upstairs, sounds like Jim Benning and John Weisbrod have both been fired as well. No indication of a new general manager in Vancouver. So kind of odd to hire a head coach before hiring a general manager. Usually that's the GM's decision. Whoever does take that GM job will be inheriting Bruce Boudreau, which kind of leads you to think it's the Sedin twins, that maybe they're going to have a piece of the hockey ops decisions because they're around already.
Let you work the phones and contact your various relationships around the National Hockey League to see why they would do that, because it is unusual that you hire a coach without the general manager being in place. But it's the 4th GM this year already to be relieved of his duties in the National Hockey League. Let's get to this Vancouver story that's developing throughout the course of our night, and it really kicked off when Elliot Friedman of Rogers Sportsnet put out a tweet saying that Bruce Boudreau will be the next coach of the Vancouver Canucks. That was about 6:30 Pacific time this evening, and Bruce Boudreau in, Travis Green out. Where has it gone from there?
Yeah, that sort of started, it's been kind of weird because the Canucks, their PR department put out a sort of a tweet earlier today saying the next time there would be any media availability would be tomorrow after their practice at 10:30. And then clearly the management or ownership was busy making some changes today. They fired Travis Green and Nolan Baumgartner from the coaching staff. They brought in Bruce Boudreau and Scott Walker. Now it's also out there that they have fired general manager Jim Benning and assistant general manager John Weisbrod, and they have brought in, it's a big group, Chris Gear, Stan Smyl, Ryan Johnson, and the Sedin twins will work collaboratively. Sounds like Stan Smyl, who is the senior of that group, longtime Mr. Canuck, one of the greatest players in franchise history, has been in American League coaching roles, player development role, assistant GM role. He's been around management with the Canucks for over 20 years. He will be the interim GM, and we'll see where it all unfolds from here.
So Greer and, correct me if I'm wrong.
Gear, yep.
Gear and
Ryan
Johnson. We're already with the organization.
Yeah, everybody's been with the organization except for the Sedins. They've kind of been in a sort of a consultant role.
First year for them. They're
going to be involved more on a day-to-day basis. So a big collaborative effort from 5 guys right now, and then the changes to the coaching staff. Boudreau and Walker are added. Green and Baumgartner are out.
That big group, is that permanent, or is that
interim,
just
it's interim?
Okay.
I would imagine that the Aquilinis will want to hire a team president and a real general manager, a full-time general manager at some point in time. And there's all kinds of names flying around, and a return to the Lawrence Gilman and help me out real quick, the former GM in Vancouver.
Jim Benning?
No, before him.
Oh, before them.
Anyways, doesn't matter. I have a brain cramp. It'll come to me in a second. I can picture him right now.
But we have breaking news, and it's courtesy of our own Elliot Friedman, and it's big news coming out of Vancouver. Last place in the Pacific Division, a coaching change has been made. Breaking news, Elliot Friedman reporting Bruce Boudreau will be the next head coach of the Canucks, replacing Travis Green. Now, the Canucks have not made an official announcement, but it looks like Green is out and Boudreau is in, and Boudreau has a pretty illustrious career as a head coach. Look at these numbers on the resume, Justin. 14 years, 10 playoff appearances, nearly 1,000 games behind the bench. We're not sure if other moves are imminent, but what do you make of this move?
Well, I think you got a Vancouver Canucks team that is desperate. And, it's not a team that is looking to win down the road. They've kind of pushed their chips in a little bit this season. And what Boudreau does is he gives you offense. He lets your best players be your best players, and he takes the shackles off a little bit. So we've seen his success throughout his career. Guys like Ovechkin and Backstrom, obviously, he had huge numbers when he was the coach there. In Vancouver, you look at some of the guys that are struggling. It's big names. It's Pettersson, it's Besser, it's Horvat. Some of these players who you feel like maybe they've been bogged down in a system that is defense first and checking first. And I'm not saying Boudreau is going to have them not check, but I do think that he's someone who opens things up a little bit to offense. And I think a lot of great, talented players thrive under him. So Vancouver just needed something different. He certainly is very different than what what Travis Green has given him.
And that fan base, clearly, you saw a sweater thrown on the ice last night. Another loss, last place in the Pacific. Fan base has run out of patience. So again, Bruce Boudreau, the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, as reported by Elliot Friedman. Well, the big news really tonight, though, coming out of Vancouver, and that's courtesy of our Elliot Friedman reporting. Bruce Boudreau is the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. The team has yet to make it official with their own report, but all signs indicate Boudreau's in. Travis Green coached his final game last night, and the fans and the patient ran out.
Bruce Boudreau, that is the news in Vancouver. You played with him, and I think everybody knows what kind of coach he is, and you know what he's like in a locker room.
Yeah, well, kind of played with him. It was Bruce. It was actually my first year of pro hockey, and it was Bruce's last year. He was 36 years old at the time, and I swear to God, he looks like he does now, and I'm like, who is this guy they're bringing in? Is he like going to be one of our assistant coaches? But Barry Melrose was our coach then in Adirondack. It was my first year pro. He brings Bruce in, and I swear, he brought him in just to hang around the room and crack jokes, and he's just such a funny, personable guy. I had a lot of fun with him off the ice, and we ended up winning a championship that year. Bruce didn't play, but he still had a big hand in it because he was so good in the locker room. Great room guy.
No doubt, and certainly great behind the bench. I know a lot of people in the game are thrilled that he'll be back there, and you can take a look at some of the numbers he's done as a head coach. Impressive numbers indeed. And of course, last head coaching job was with the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, and he's a guy that his trademark is he teaches offensive hockey. He's got to get things going there. You look at Elias Peterson, just 4 goals. Brock Besser, 4 goals. He's going to go in there and try and spark that offense.
Meanwhile, some huge news in Vancouver. Our Elliot Friedman, the first to report that Bruce Boudreau will be the next head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. Canucks last place in the Pacific Division. Another loss last night. Fans throwing jerseys on the ice. We can also announce that Jim Benning reportedly is also done as GM of the Canucks. And we can tell you Travis Green is done as head coach. So that's the big news in Vancouver. So this was something a lot of people have been expecting for weeks now. Now that it's official, your thoughts? And Bruce Boudreau's the fit or no?
Yeah, well, it's a fresh start that was sorely needed there in Vancouver. To be honest, this almost feels like mercy at this point. And Boudreau is the right fit for them in the way that, the best players under him have thrived, the star players. And that's what's hurting in Vancouver right now is, you need Pettersson going and Horvat going and Besser going. And Boudreau, I think, will at least take the shackles off a bit and give them a chance to be at their best.